Seriously, I was at this point where I was like so hopeless and so messed up. And so I just thought everything in my life was coming collapsing down and that I'll never get back to this level again. And then I got an email that all the money that we had saved was lost in a Ponzi scheme.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Fail with Fire. I am your podcast host, Phoenix Ha, CEO of my favorite first-party data and attribution platform. And today we have a guest, and not just any guest. We have a guest that actually is special to me. I think all guests are, but this is different. When you meet someone and you just immediately click and you have the worst, dumbest humor, this is this person. But aside from that, he's also pretty well known. So welcome to the podcast, Ryan McKenzie. I'll give you your official intro, but say hi to everybody real quick.
Hey everybody, and thank you for having me here on your podcast today.
Honestly, all stuff aside, like it's an honor to have you. It's funny because I love these podcasts because I know you as a person before I knew Tru Earth, everything that you've built. I think those are the best types of friendships. But I'll give you the grandiose intro. So everybody who's listening, Ryan McKenzie, our podcast guest, is the CEO or co-founder of Tru Earth, a brand that has generated hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. Oh, and he's holding it up. It's not in focus yet. Okay, well, I'll let him continue. If anybody's watching on the podcast on Spotify, you got to watch him struggle to try to get it in focus, but he was holding up the material. So they help him eliminate more than 186 million plastic containers from ending up in landfills and donated more than 50 million loads of laundry detergent to those in need. He now spends his time helping direct-to-consumer first consumer goods brands grows to 8 figures in revenue and beyond. But more importantly, Ryan's just a cool person. So welcome to the podcast, Ryan. Come to Fail with Fire.
I have failed with fire. I have failed multiple times with fire and coals.
You sound like you just got dragged out of a fire recently.
Right. It's just my voice. I've had laryngitis so many times. It's like you're lucky you're even getting this much.
I'm grateful. Well, as tradition stands, I always like to give that's the official intro, but how I actually met you is we went to a Blue Ribbon event. That's Ezra Firestone's event with Molly Pittman, smart marketer. And what's really cool about that is I got this really awesome piece of swag that is on my head right now. I always like to say like merch and these types of things are like camp shirts. If you wear the camp shirt, you know the inside joke. Otherwise, you're a loser. So I'm going to wear this for a little bit of time. Just wanted you to get a smile. But the first thing is I saw Ryan McKenzie because we would tweet back and forth. It's a very small world on X/Twitter. And we would always just like make smart, funny remarks to each other. Met him in person, instantly clicked, and immediately knew he was going to be my friend because the first thing you said is, think daddy or father. You immediately called me my pronouns.
We were at that table. I think Nick was there. Who else was there? I can't remember.
I think Aaron Noshbish, probably.
Rabba,
Rahil. Yeah, Rahil. It's the crew.
Yeah.
It's the crew. All of us at the table together always. It's always the crew, and then we go network, and then we come back to the crew. And I'm so grateful you're part of that crew. At least I joined the crew late, met you, etc.
Yeah, that was like, I've met Nick once or twice before, and I met Rabba once or twice before. I never met Aaron prior to that event or Dylan, but it was always seeing these people like at different events independently, and like it was kind of like the Power Rangers when you get like all of them together and they make this like mega mech.
Yes,
kind of felt like that. I didn't quite feel like a ranger, but I was trying to get in there, maybe be like
you're definitely a ranger. I think you're like green ranger. I'm not going to be pink ranger because that's stereotypical. I'm going to be blue ranger. I'm going to lead. Red ranger's the leader of the pack. But yeah, no, 100%. So for those of you who don't know, Dylan Ander, who is the founder and I believe CEO of heatmap.com, he was also there. He's awesome. All brilliant people in one place. And yeah, honestly, what I really really enjoyed was just remembering like you're fun, super smart, and we stayed friends. So I'm just grateful to have you on this podcast. And what we normally do is an intro to kind of get the juices flowing is if I met you at a barbecue, it was your wife, she pulls me, she's like, Phoenix, I need you to meet my husband. And she makes an intro. What would she say or what would she say that you do and who you are? How do you think she would describe it?
I should probably say that I'm a degenerate that stays in the basement all day. And no. um, sorry, that wasn't right.
That's amazing. I love it.
Supposed to. I don't really like introducing myself in person, even as what I do. But if she was to introduce me, she would probably say that I was one of the co-founders of Tru Earth, um, the company that essentially created the laundry detergent sheet, laundry detergent strips category. I think it's probably over $1 billion category in laundry detergent now. That I've got, built a number of different econ first brands or D2C first brands. And I probably have really bad sense of humor. That's probably how she would end it. But
That's how you
that part's not true. That part, that I think I have a good sense of humor.
That's how you know she's a real one. That's your wife, right? If she doesn't dig a little bit, like, is she really there? You know, it's just is somebody in there. Like, no, 100%. I like asking that
Probably say,
question.
I don't know what he does. I don't know what he does. I have no idea, but somehow he manages to pay for the stuff.
I'm dead. My mom, so the reason why we ask this question is because like my mom has no clue what I do. Like she's like, she works for Facebook or she does this, right? We have no idea. I don't expect her to know. And I don't think like our personal friends and family are expected to be experts in what we do, but it's always fun to hear how they describe it because it's usually totally off, totally off, but you just nod your head. You're like, yeah, that's what I do. 100%. I like to tell people I'm a janitor. I just clean shit up all day. And then that's like, it's wrong. I'm not lying, but
I'm 2024 version of Mr. Clean.
with
Instead
hair.
of no hair, I got gray hair, like, but I don't really like introducing myself, like based on what I do or my accomplishments or whatever. It's kind of a weird thing for me that I try to be like, kind of build a base, like bond somehow before I like show my cards. I don't know. It's,
Well, you have
I
nothing
don't,
to, right. There's no reason to do it. I think it's always fascinating to go to events or to meet people and they have to just like push out who they are by what they've done rather than just getting to know the person. That's a big reason why I've clicked with you because, again, like I said, I didn't know about Tru Earth. I didn't know about any of that. Like, I just got to know you as a person and it was great and we became friends. And then what stems from that is like, okay, great. Now I want to support Tru Earth 110% and hope to God it's a great product. It's usually that way. You click with the person first and then you hope the product lives up to the hype of the person. And people don't like to admit that, but it's very true.
it's true. Sure. I'm trying to think of a product that I've bought that didn't live up to it and I had to like somehow figure out a way to break it to the person. But I actually don't think that too many of my friends have launched stuff that I was like, oh man, this shit sucks.
Oh, I have. 100%. I have. And actually, I'll use one that isn't a friend. I'll use one as it was genius marketing idea. So there, you know how everyone's into seltzers and all that bullshit. So this company, I forgot what it's called, but it's called Mom Water, I think. And it's basically, you know what I'm talking about?
No,
You know,
but I was just thinking that brand, that name could go so many different directions. But sorry, carry on.
Mom Water, okay? And what it is a seltzer without carbonation. And so,
Water.
but what's really, and stop, hold on, marketing, right? Okay, drink your Monster, not Mom Water. So it was actually genius because every single one of these cans had like a different name, like Julie, Karen, whatever. And they had all these different flavor profiles. It was so smart the way that they went about everything. I literally picked it up. It was $19 for like 6 cans. I'm like, this is stupid, but I'm going to support. I get on TikTok. I film myself because I always do that as just like kind of a let's test it out. And this tasted so bad. It tasted like old dirty water. And I like filmed myself going, And like, as somebody who's in this space, I have a hard time saying poor things about people's products, not because they don't deserve it, just because I know it's the first iteration or whatever's coming out. It's shitty. You never want to do that. But man, and all I said was, I wish the marketing or I wish the product lived up to the hype, because that was so bad, dude. And like, I gave it to everybody in my household and they're like, this is awful. I'm not drinking. We had to dump them out.
That sucks.
I'll send
Yeah, I'm really excited to try it. I mean,
you.
so it's seltzer water with no bubbles. Did it
Mhm.
taste like stewage? Like, or
And
like
just
maybe
tastes like water with like a flavor.
or like 7 in the morning breath flavor?
Yeah. 100%. Nailed it.
Nope. Kind of milky.
Yeah. Like when you first start dating someone and you're like, whoa, I have to decide, do I want to continue this?
Red flag.
Speaking of red flag, talk about failures, Ryan. Great segue. Great segue. So obviously this podcast, we can talk all day long of just like being friends. But I think what's really important for people who are listening is there's a lot of success behind Ryan. He doesn't like to talk about himself. I'll do it. But for you to hit, the hundreds of millions of dollars in sales, if not $1 billion at this point, and for Tru Earth, which is one of the very many brands that you've been a part of, to reach the success that it has, seldom does that happen without a lot of failures in the process and moments that you could probably distinctly remember as the catalysts to change. Please walk us through that. It could be personal. It could be connected to Tru Earth. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to learn from it.
Yeah. So it's been a minute since this happened, but it was about 2007, which is like 100 years ago. But I would have been about 25-ish then. Shows how old I am. But before Tru Earth, before I was in ecom, before I had a few other startups, I was pretty heavily into like the affiliate marketing space, and I had built out this ringtone subscription brand with Kevin, who's also one of the co-founders of Tru Earth. And I didn't have any secret message in that sneeze or anything. That was just the regular cough. But we had this ringtone subscription business. And at the time, like I was really heavy into like SEO. So we'd done all these SEO tactics to rank #1 in Google for ringtones and free ringtones. And we were making like 6 figures a month, which at that time to me, it was like, we weren't selling physical products. There was no shipping. It was basically selling the subscription to getting music. It texted to you every month. It was like $20 a month. Anyways, long story short, we had an issue with one of the people that we were working with, and we suspect that they either reported how we were ranking in search or the terminology we were using, but we essentially lost all of our placement in Google, but we had a ton of money put aside, so it wasn't that big of a deal. We were just going to do it again. So we had almost got it back to there again, and it happened again, and we were kind of panicking, thinking, okay, well, can we do this again in a way that doesn't get us flagged for this stuff? And then there was a class action lawsuit against the carrier that handled the ringtone subscription service. And we were basically told you were no longer allowed to acquire new customers. And like, I had just bought this other house, which I live in Vancouver, so shit's expensive. It was like 600 grand at the time, which is like basically free now here. But I also had a condo and I had like this lease on an expensive car. And we had so little money coming in because we were not allowed to get any new customers. And since the only tool I really had was SEO, the time to build anything back up was so long. And that was the backstory. And I can remember my sister was in the hospital. She's passed away now, but she had Huntington's disease and she had just kind of been diagnosed with it. And I can remember leaving the hospital on my birthday. I went and visited her. She's like in this psych ward for a little bit, which they were trying to figure out what was going on with her. And I was driving home and I was upset with that. And I felt like so hopeless, and I didn't have anybody that I could talk to, and then anybody that could relate to what I was going through, because I was at a point where I thought I was, within a year or two from being able to retire. And I was screaming my brains out when I was going up the hill, just like Steve. Sorry, I'm not supposed to swear, but I had no outlet, and like I had no income, and I randomly called my dad, and he's like, "Hey, you want to go get groceries?" I don't know how my dad could sense that something bad was going on, but parents have like some magical intuition. And he took me out and wanted to buy me some groceries. But we had a bunch of money saved for tax purposes that we had invested in Forex then, which was, fully registered with the Canadians, but BC Securities and stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, we have something to rebuild. And, I'm like, seriously, I was at this point where I was like so hopeless and so messed up. And so I just thought everything in my life was coming collapsing down and that I'll never get back to this level again. And then I got an email that all the money that we had saved was lost in Ponzi scheme. So not only did I lose my entire business that was doing 6 figures in revenue a month, which I thought I was going to retire also, which was naive, but whatever. I also lost all of the tax dollars that I owed to the government, which that's a big no-no. They don't like it when you don't pay them taxes. And I had to get a job. That's a big part of it. I had to get a job selling cell phones at the mall, which was incredibly embarrassing for me. But the lesson that came out of that, like, so all this crazy stuff happened. I thought I was like on top of the world. I was getting houses and condos and cars, and then it all got taken away from me. And I didn't have the skills to start over quickly. And I wanted to get a job selling cell phones. And instead of just like being embarrassed by it, I decided, okay, I'm going to get good at sales so that no matter what happens after this, I can always rely on being able to sell whatever it is that I might be able to offer to somebody else so that I never have to get in this situation again. And that's kind of how, that's the beginning of my sales. I'm not a sales guy, but that's where I started learning sales, which then turned into like copy and selling the wine. So it's not the most dramatic version of the story, but it's long, and but it's real, from thinking I had everything to thinking that I was hopeless and I wasn't sure how I was going to make it through this life.
Dude, that's huge. It's not like, okay, and you don't have to cry. You can cry.
You want me to cry? Well, I'm just going to sprinkle. If I put something in that part, it will
cry. No, I think it's crazy because I know that anxiousness. I find this really funny. There's a theme in this podcast series. This is our 3rd season now, which is funny to even talk about. But what will happen is I know the people that went through some deep shit. And then what they'll do is they'll talk about it. You can see the wheels turning of like them thinking about it and then them just grazing over the really hard shit and then, but we're okay now. Because it's like the survival mentality. You can't dwell on the past. You can't say like, you can't live there, right? Because you'll never survive. But you also have to acknowledge it. And I think what's cool too is if you didn't have this happen to you, truly, then you would never have Tru Earth be where it's at today. Believe that?
100%. 100%. Like,
so this feeling of losing everything, do you think that fuels you, or do you think it's something even deeper than that?
I mean, I think it gives you perspective, right? Like, it's easy when you're on top of when you're on top of things. You're not like smelling the roses usually, like, unfortunately, you're running around with your hair on fire, looking for the biggest bottleneck that you can fix and move you into the next thing. And you're not like going like, wow, look what I dealt. This is amazing. But when you're at the bottom, fuck, all you're doing is smelling the roses. Like, it is, and those roses smell like that mom water tastes. Like, like, but you have to take accountability for how you got to where you got, so you don't get back to that same spot again. And, every time, like, this isn't the only thing that fails for me. Like, other businesses, everything has a life cycle, and people that think that they're going to be able to ride one single product or one single offer into the sunset, a very small few percent of people do, but everything dies. Sounds negative, but until you come to everything has a life cycle. And if you're not willing to pass through all the stages of the life cycle and take what you learn and apply it to the next thing, But A, you're naive, and B, you're not, if you think that after multiple times, you're not ready to play this game, because this game has life cycles. And if you don't
Life
like
has
it,
life.
yes.
Yeah. Life has life cycles. I mean, so there's this Bible verse I have tattooed on my neck, and it says, "For to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." And the idea is that you continuously die unto yourself. And that might sound really extreme to most people. Well, too bad I'm an extreme person. So, the end. But more so that, you know, you aren't shit. You will come into money, you will come out of money, but you have to understand that that is the process to your point. And then you keep going. And then also it's like this pride thing, like people owe you, that the world owes you money. The world doesn't owe you anything, right? You have opportunities and then you take them. And I think it's also really important to taste dirt, to know what good food tastes like.
So
Um,
that's what it is. Doesn't.
quinoa. What was it? Ali Wong said that Chewbacca bread, that lesbian bread, the gluten-free one. And I was just like,
There's a new Ali Wong special coming out. I think I saw a preview for it.
I got really annoyed in her last one where she just shit on her husband and then divorced him. But I digress. This is our ADD showcasing, but let's see. But my point is that like you're 100% correct. And here's the funny thing. You said something really good. You said, when you are on the top, you don't even A, recognize that you're on the top. But B, you're constantly looking for more fertilizer. That's like what I'm thinking is like, how can I make more roses? How can I make more roses? Like you never get to stop and enjoy it. And when you are, you're anxious. I think you get more and more anxious because you have more mouths to feed, not only your own. You have so much more on your plate. And then you're constantly in this growth mode. You know, my mom's boyfriend was very, very wealthy and also very, very driven. He was one of the forefathers of minimal invasive spinal surgery. And one of my biggest memories of him is he would never sleep. He would stay up till like 4 or 5 in the morning calling people just to keep himself awake. And all he would do is invest in more and more and more property. And I sit there and I go, you have more money than you need, right, for the rest of your life. And you're trying to build this empire further because he has refugee mentality, right? Like he never wants to lose it again. And I don't know, maybe I'm just spoiled and naive, but I have made a really big point in my life to like stop and smell the shitty roses and then also get on these types of podcasts and like try to like slow people down and be like, yo, remember when like a $10 salad was so expensive and now a $10 salad is like a side crouton? So
It's true. It is true though, right? Like, oh no. But I kind of think that's pervasive amongst people who are very driven, and it's like that dopamine, that dopamine seeking behavior, that like hedonic treadmill, hedonic adaptation, whatever you want to call it, where it's like you think that you need this thing before you're able to be satisfied with what you have, and you get that thing, and then you need the next thing, and like whether or not that's like something materialistic or that's just like some sort of an achievement. Like I hate whatever, everybody likes David Goggins, but like I think that this is me obviously judging from a million miles away, but I feel like he's just unable to be satisfied with anything that he does. And I don't think it's about, I think the one thing that people should probably seek who are like built kind of like us is peace. I don't think they have peace, right? Like, you know, even today, I woke up, I was not having a good day today. I'll be perfectly honest, like totally transparent. I woke up, I took my kids to school and then hopped in my truck, which I have a very nice vehicle. I should be very happy. You know, like, and I wasn't sad or I wasn't like, but I was like, I don't feel right today. I don't really feel like doing anything. I'm like, it's kind of like the beginning steps of like depression. Like, I don't really feel like working. Like, and then I try to go for a walk and I walked like, not even a quarter of a mile. I don't feel like walking. And I went and grabbed the coffee and then I went down to my warehouse and I just kind of sat there. And after about an hour, I started to feel back to normal again. But like, you know, even doesn't matter how successful you get, you have those moments. And I know we're totally going off this beaten path here, but I think that like even people who find peace or find whatever makes them feel whole or whatever still have bad days. Like everybody thinks everybody's always got it together who's like doing something different, but everybody's got their own shit, even if it's like I wasn't even upset about anything. I was just like, I don't feel like a very good version of myself today.
That's some residual bullshit too, though. I feel like, I'm sure. I also think probably you have a higher threshold for bullshit than most people because you have to deal with stuff, right? So I believe that there's like this runoff of it. And this is just me psychoanalyzing, but like, for example, for me, if someone were to pass away in my life, I won't feel it until 3 months later. This is like a known thing that people know in my life, my inner circle. And it is the strangest thing. So I'm always at funerals, not crying. I'm always at the funeral, consoling the families and everyone's like, you good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. 3 months later, I'm a fucking wreck. And I just feel like it's because like you deal with the survival mode mentality in the moment because you've been through so much that you feel it later and it trickles on. So those like high-low moments, I feel those too, 100%. And I go, I have no idea why I feel this way. There's no real reason. You're 100% right. And you're like at this very top, right? I'm not even there and you're there. And
At the top, you're at the top. Come on.
I'm the coolest. So yeah, I mean, I completely get it. And also too, like, to your point, I don't know. Like, I think that it's really important to like be real, be super honest with yourself, and then just kind of go from there. And then hopefully it all works out and call it a day and move forward. So yeah, I feel that. I feel that hard. Also, what kind of truck do you have, sir?
I have the most obnoxious truck that exists.
Cybertruck?
Nope, I've got a Hummer EV X3, freaking massive. It's electric. It's electric.
Hey, good.
It's electric. It's electric. Thing you can like raise it like 6 or 8 inches on the fly, and like, I mean, it's obnoxious, but it's I don't even want to say it makes me happy. It was actually a logical purchase. I had another truck, and this thing just I don't have to pay for gas. So
I think it's like so okay, so tell me what you think about this, but I was having this like deep thought moment because it seems like you have those types of moments too, where you said it yourself, like you weren't in a good place, so you had space, so you started walking, and then you went to your warehouse to look at the things that you've built, and then you try to get yourself back on track. And my thing recently was I was walking and I thought to myself, and because I'm newly married, I went, why is it that when you first start dating and you're poor as fuck, and you're like, how am I going to make this person super happy? So I'm sure when you were dating your wife, right? You were like, I'm going to write her a letter. I'm going to get her flowers. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Like all these really cute, sentimental things. You would make her step. I'm assuming, right? God, please tell me you did that. But I think you do all these things.
yeah.
And then you get older. Your marriage is more seasoned, or your relationship is more seasoned. And then you end up just like buying shit. You write less cards. You get things that you know that is on their like TikTok likes or their Pinterest likes, but not sitting back and going, this is who she is. This is our relationship. And I sat there and I realized, I was like, wait, I actually care about that stuff more. So for my birthday, my husband went through my TikTok account, found a like cool hidden sushi place that was just a hole in the wall, not expensive, not a Michelin star, surprised me and took me there. I was more happy about that, Ryan, than I was about a whole boat trip that I went on. My trip to Istanbul, I'm so sorry. Like, to my sister, I had a great time, don't get me wrong. But like, those are the moments. And I wonder if that's also just like in business and in life. Do you feel that?
Oh, I'm like 1000%. Like somebody asked me when I was like 20 years old, like if you had unlimited money, what would you do with your life? And I couldn't answer it at the time. And like I still remember like I was working at eBay and I met this guy there and his name was Dennis. And I took inventory of the things that I like or what make me happy, like probably a year or two ago. And I was like, everything that makes me happy doesn't really cost anything. Like I like to go to I like to go to the gym and hang out and I like, have coffee with some friends and like, I mean, maybe taking my kids to sports is expensive, um, but like at the end of the day, like even the things that you said, like those like thoughtful experiences with somebody else, um, those things are way more valuable and make you feel way more things than any sort of physical item does. And I don't think enough people it's funny because when you're young, you have so much time and you have no money. And you know, as a result, you like think you want all these things. You want to go travel all these places and buy material things, vehicles, houses, blah, 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 white picket fence. And then you spend all this time and building wealth or building businesses. And as you get older, you have less and less time. So now but you start to have money. So you're now, what happens is you shifted from being poor in money and rich in time to being rich in money and poor in time. And you get to be my age, I'm 43, where I'm like, but I mean, before when I was like really busy, it was like, man, I would do anything to have like, to be able to do like just randomly go skiing or whatnot, even like go for a run because you get kids. And then now you have like almost no time to yourself. And it's funny, you start wanting time. That's why people always talk about, oh, you can buy back your time by paying somebody to cut your grass and cook your food and blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of ironic because once you get to that point, all you really want is what you had when you were like 18 years old. And it takes you however many years to get to that point, and you burn all this time trying to accumulate resources to just get what you already had when you had the most health, the most vitality. And it's just this weird journey that's like full circle back to where you started to realize that that was actually when you were the wealthiest.
Welcome to the Fail with Fire podcast, Ryan. This is what it's all about. You're 100% dead on. Like, I don't know. I was like dirt poor, and I don't know if you know my story, and I won't go super into it, but my family isn't poor. I was poor. There was a very big distinction, right? Because they don't owe me anything. I have to build my own. But, I was at like the bottom of a pit when a shooting happened. I left 2 hours before the shooting, and uh, like a lot of people died. And then 2 days later, a huge fire came out, and a lot of my clients lost their homes. And there was just so much that was happening at one point. And then my ex, basically fiance, we broke things off, and like I was just sitting in an apartment full of just his shit. Mind you, he was like 11 years older than me, and I thought he was my mentor. I'm much older now, so I'm sitting back and going, idiot, right? But at the time, that was my life. And I remember what it felt like every single morning because he owed a lot of people money, and I'm associated to this person. So they would call me. I'm like, where's my money? Where's my money? And I remember thinking to myself, like, I never want to feel this way again. This is not who I am. I cleared it all out. We're all good to go. That is the fire that fuels me today. But it's not even so much that I don't want to be there again. I want to be in a place where I can support the people who supported me financially when I was down in my pit. So like, I just want to have enough money where everyone's okay. And that's how I'm good. And I am so grateful to my partner because he doesn't come from our world of scaling. He likes to listen to it because like, he's a winemaker and he was a baseball coach before. For him, he's very grounded. And he puts me back in check and goes, okay, like what actually matters? And I think I think I see a lot of people in D2C that don't have that anchor. And I feel sad now because I'm very grateful for that is what I'm trying to say, because I want to be able to taste the dirt again. But it's not even so much to fulfill for me because I'm like the type to provide. I know I'm a provider. I want to provide for everyone else to be good. And then once we're good there, like all the other things, that's just a cherry on top. Money is just access. Money is just access. That's all it is. So.
Yeah, it's funny how everybody gets to this point though,
Well, I'm halfway there. I got to get to the Tru Earth level, and then we'll be good to go.
It's never enough. We just got to get one more level, Phoenix. We're going to get that. One more.
Well, that being said, we're going to go to the funny part, the funny parts of which is our hot takes. Do you have a hot take, Ryan McKenzie, or do I need to coax it out of you?
Do I have a hot take? I think the biggest hot take that I have right now is that I think there's this pervasive message that like D2C is in hard mode right now, or it's incredibly difficult. because of all the rising costs of Meta and Facebook, whatever you want to call it. And I think like, I actually just think that majority of the people look at the purpose of D2C as like a few years ago, it was like, oh, we're just going to run D2C. We're not going to go on retail. We're not going to go on Amazon. We want to have all our data and blah, 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 blah. Listen, I think everybody's like, oh my God, I'm not making any money on my D2C. It's like, then distribute your product in other places and just try to break even on D2C. If you can, if you can break even, or like, even if it takes you a month or two to get your payback, like if you can manage that, it grows all your other channels. Like, I think the purpose of D2C is a mechanism to rise all tides for your brand and not just be the business, right? Like, I don't know, it's kind of long-winded, but I just don't think that the people that are complaining really, they haven't thought their entire business through.
Well, also too, like back at that hot take, if Shopify shuts down tomorrow, you're fucked. So, you know, to have multiple distribution channels, I think the best quote was from Mark Joyner, who's the inventor of the Pixel. And he's, Mozo?
I know Mark. I don't know Mark as yet.
I know Mark too.
Irresistible for Gentleman. He created that. You wrote that book too. It's great.
You know, I met Mark as the man in a tank top and board shorts in Dubai, meeting me up for breakfast with my sister, them talk about naturopathic medicine, for me not to even know who he was. And then to walk away and someone's like, you're an idiot. He's like, by the way, it's the sickest story ever, because I got on stage, started talking, and he was the first one on the mic to ask me a question. It was amazing. Thank you.
He does ask good questions. I've never met him in person, but I've talked to him, but he's very fortunate. Anyway, sorry.
Great guy. Would totally be at our cool table, like our Power Ranger table. He'd be like, whoever, like, I forgot. Remember they like give you the mission? Maybe that's Charlie's Angels. That would be Mark Joyner. But like, it's Charlie. But yeah, anyway, so he said, think of your business as a table with 1,000 legs. You don't want a table with 1 leg, 2 legs, or even 3 legs. You want a table with 1,000 legs. In other words, stop thinking Meta is going to be, or Facebook is going to be that one main leg. And then you've got maybe Google, and then you've got one more. You need as many distribution channels as possible, because, and obviously you need to be as efficient as you can. Don't spread too thin. But it's extremely important to diversify that portfolio, because to your point, if you break even on D2C, you're doing well. Like, I think. And I always look at blended. I as an attribution provider, like for me, I don't even look at per channel analysis. I think it's a good beacon as to what is happening. But I think when you look at high level and you look at everything, your MER, your blended ROAS, whatever you decide, your core, your cost of revenue, are you profitable? If profitability is your core, and then you want to, get new customers versus returning customers, and you have an NCPA that's a goal, make a goal and set it, sure. But when you go to per channel and you just get making things too complicated, I think it gets a little dicey. I guess that's my hot take.
I agree with you. I feel like it's really easy for finance people to go and be like, put everything in a vacuum, when you don't really understand the incremental impact something has on other things. Put it in the vacuum, that's great, but you're going to fuck the whole business up, because everything that you're doing impacts other things in some capacity. And you take one thing out and you're slowly breaking the machine. I'm a big blended CAC, blended CPA or NCPA. I don't know. I don't
find better acronyms. Come on, man.
I just don't like I'll be honest, it's another hot take. I fucking hate the acronym NCPA. Like, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm only concerned with acquiring new customers. Obviously, I can sell to them in the future. What I want to measure is like, what does it cost me to acquire a customer? I don't want to know how much it costs me to reacquire a customer. I want to acquire that customer, and then I want to maximize the LTV.
But NCPA is new customer cost per acquisition. It's the same thing. It's just
it is. I know. Yeah. I'm just like, I don't need, like, that. To me, it's like that. I've acquired that customer. So why are we measuring that? Like, anyways, that's my, I call it makes me salty.
How dare you? NCPA versus RCPA. No one knows what RCPA is, because I made it up. Yeah, because I made it up. Thank you. It's like, it reminds me of NASCAR. I'm like,
I feel like it should be CPA and RCPA. Like, That is my.
Yeah, 100%. And also, if you're art, and here's the problem with like CPA versus NCPA versus RCPA, right? Because if you are more efficient, depending on what efficiency is, your RCPA is going to rise tremendously if all you're doing is NCPA, right? So your NCPA is going to go down. The formula for it is that here's your spend, right? And then it's relative to acquiring those customers. So if the majority of that spend, if you're getting that calculation, is getting more efficient and new customer cost per acquisition, it's going to be extremely high in returning customer cost per acquisition. So it's still like a battle in a game. And you also should not be spending money on returning customers, in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some instances like if you want to like push somebody to subscription,
Yeah.
that's where you want to run some ads to them to like. There's some times where I think it makes sense, but generally speaking, I'd agree with you on that. You know what? Another one. I'm sorry. Now you got me in my hot seat.
Let's go, Ryan.
I can't stand conversion rate like as a macro metric. I think it's the stupidest metric because it does not take into consideration. Like if I'm a marketer, you tell me this conversion rate is an important metric for us as a brand. Like, okay, I'm just going to retarget the shit out of the bottom of the funnel. Like this, like if you're telling me from a macro perspective that this is a variable or a KPI that is important to measure for the business and it gives us some perspective on the health of the company, I think is stupid because it's so easy to manipulate, whether it's retargeting, sending more emails. Like if you're going to look at like,
Interesting.
Getting fired up. Like even like the level of awareness in your creatives, it completely dictates what that is. So if you're getting massive incremental new eyeballs on your landing page, your conversion rate in theory should actually be declining because there's new touch points that aren't ready to purchase yet. So I hate that metric. The only way that I think that it could even be used in any capacity that it's valuable is measuring it like on a campaign by campaign basis, or I don't even think measuring it based on sources is valuable because you can manipulate it there too. Conversion rate is important, but I don't think that it's a very good. It's not a very good measure instead.
Campaign by campaign basis, yes. And then what I would counter that is you need a control. So you were saying you can manipulate it, but the only way that it's about, like if I were to be in your shoes, right, and some like media buyer's like, conversion rate is at 3%. We need to push net. And you're like, okay, shut the fuck up. Like, no, I would say my counter would be like, okay, the only thing you can do is increase spend. That is all you can do. And I want to see everything else rise. And then you can talk to me about conversion rate. I also talk about it like the taco stand. I use this analogy and we'll round it out at taco stand. I always say, okay, if you have a taco stand.
Tacos are good. I like tacos.
Stuff, yeah, we love tacos, right? So a taco stand, right? And 2 out of the 4 people in line, because there's only 4 people in line, buy tacos. What is that conversion rate? 50%. Yay. So then Mr. Taco El Taco Gordo goes, I want more people. So then he goes, I'm going to spend $100,000 on more people because the more people that come, I have a 50% conversion rate. Well, not necessarily, because what if 90% of the new traffic you send are vegans and you don't have vegan options?
True.
It's called qualified traffic. And what is qualified? And you need to have those like parameters in place in order for it to make sense. So you and I are aligned there. I'm really glad I got you fired up.
I'm glad we don't have to fight about it.
With family. You're wrong. I'm right. The end. Have a great day. Goodbye.
We're coming back.
It's okay. We didn't invite you back. It's fine. So just kidding. All right.
I'm going to cry. Now I'm going to cry.
Just let it be known that Phoenix Haw made Ryan McKenzie from Tru Earth cry. Thank you. That being said, we are so happy to have you. And honestly, where can people find you? How can people get to know what you're up to next and what's up with your life?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on, I'm still going to call it Twitter because it's forever the bird app. My username's Ryan McKenzie, no A in McKenzie. Or you can find me on YouTube. I got a YouTube channel. I haven't been posting as much the last couple of months, but I'm sure if you search for my name, it will be one of the top results outside of, there's a couple coin stars, I think, that have the same name.
Same person.
Okay. Make sure you go to the right chat and on OnlyFeet.
OnlyFeet.
OnlyFeet, yeah.
Good to know.
My name is Scabby.
I'm
not on OnlyFeet. No.
Like it's the dryness in your humor that's on top of that's even better. But just to let everybody know, if you want to see Ryan's scabby feet, You can go check out our show notes because our show notes have all of his handles. That's so nasty, Ryan. That's disgusting. But don't worry. I was telling my bridesmaids at the time, I was like, hey, if you can all sell your feet pics, we'll pay for my dress. No problem. None of
You
them
can do it
said no.
anonymously. You could do it. Nobody has to know whose feet these belong to.
My sister and I were going to do it and call it sister feet. People would pay for that. I'm sure.
Listen, I'm not into feet, but I mean, if you're into feet, like, I mean, people really. I've seen some of the titles on that are the click through or the clickbaity titles on some of the less kid friendly websites, and they often talk about sisters.
I'm so dead. That being said, I'm not going to end this on any higher note. Have a great day, guys, and we will talk to you again. Bye.
Doodles.